Hello, my spooky people. In my last video, you saw me self-draft and fully make my wonderful corset here. She's not done. Not completely. So in this part 2 video, I am going to completely embroider this corset and then turn it into a fan-laced corset by making a privacy panel that will go back here and connect the lacing to the corset and make it into a fan-laced corset, as well as make a little belt that'll connect the laces to something I can pull all at once and then just probably snap together. As I said in the last video, I am inspired by those Gothic architecture windows and just overall spooky vibes. And without further ado, let's go finish my corset. First, if you haven't seen part 1, I highly suggest you check it out. It shows how I completely made and self-drafted this corset, and I'm really proud of how it came out. Link is in the description. Alright, so I wanted to go ahead and talk about this just a smidge. I adore how this concept came out, and I hope I can keep all of the details. Here we can also see how the belt will work with the fan lacing, although I have more grommets than the sketch, so the lacing will be a bit tighter than this. With the lacing and panel idea I want the lacing to run under a strip of bias tape or something to keep the privacy panel basically attached. When I sketched it out, I wasn't sure how the laces would go into the belt, but I think I'm going to use a couple of rings. So, first step to finishing this is drawing the embroidery lines on the corset. Off screen, I'm looking at my concept sketch to remind myself what I'm aiming for. While this might look like it happened pretty quickly on screen, this took me about 4 hours just to draw out, and it feels like some kind of foreshadowing for how long this is going to take. Once the windows are drawn, I can add some cute little ghosties and bats. It's finally starting to sink in what I'm about to do to my hands. Oh no. I don't want to think about how much I'm about to embroider, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the privacy panel done and out of the way. Off camera, I held up a piece of wrapping paper to the corset that was on the dress form, and that's how I got the shape. I'm going to construct this basically exactly like I did with the rest of the corset, and I'm even going to add a couple of bones, starting with cutting one layer out of each fabric type from the corset. To put it together, I'm going to base the cotton stiffening layer to the lining layer by hand. Next, I'll add 2 boning channels, pin them in place, and then sew on the very edge to create the boning channels. Next, I'm going to attach the front to the lining layer with the wrong sides facing out. I'll sew along the sides and leave the top and bottom open so I can turn it out and press it flat. I will then top stitch along the sides to keep it down, and if I want, I could add more bones into the sides. I'm also running a stitch along the bottom so I can get my bones inserted next. Now I'm going to attach a flat piece of tape down the center, but I will only sew it with a basting stitch on the top and bottom. Next, I'm going to get my bias tape attached to the top and bottom edge, and then sewing the back side of the tape by hand. The final step for this panel is to sew down the center tape in a way that creates little channels for the lace to go through. So I'll lay 1/2 of the corset down on top of the panel and then mark the middle point between the grommets on the tape. I'll then sew across the tape to create the little channels. And now, the endless embroidery. I'm doing a running back stitch for all of the lines and a satin stitch for the stars, the spiders, and anything else that needs filled in. And other than knots, I'm not sewing through all of the layers of the corset. I'm just trying to minimize on what's rubbing on the inside of the corset, so I'm trying to just get the very top layer. So for my corset design, I really wanted to lean into something kind of spooky but still have that gothic window look that I saw everywhere for a while. It should also work well for a garment that I can wear with the rest of my new wardrobe. With a lot of my embroidery designs, I try to stick with the simple black backgrounds with white lines. Something about that is very pleasing to me, and it's pretty simple to embroider most of the time. When I design for embroidery, I try and keep in mind scale and what I can feasibly do with thread. I know I'm not the most professional there is with embroidery. My stitches are nowhere near even, and that's okay. I tend to take more of a draw with thread type method with my embroidery, and I hardly ever follow any traditional methods here. Even though I'm not the greatest at it, I do find embroidery is a very relaxing and good on-the-go project. Which is great because I had a few appointments and some other things going on throughout the last few weeks that having something to do while in a waiting room was just nice. Around the 4th or 5th day of embroidering, my hands were really starting to feel it. I ended up taking a break from embroidery and holding a needle for hours on end to make a vintage shirt. Link in the description. It's a pretty cute shirt and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I guess Magni thought I needed more snuggle breaks. This handsome lad, this corgi husky mix, is why there is fur on everything. At least he's cute. I didn't time myself and I worked on this while also going to a few appointments like I said, but overall I believe this part of the corset took somewhere around 60 to 70 hours. Each panel took about 8 hours, give or take, which is part of the reason why this video took so long to come out. I'm sorry. I never really know what to talk about during these long, tedious working bits, so I figured I'd do a little introduction thing while I finish this up. Hi, my name is Kay, I'm 30 and I've been crafting for most of my life. I adore spooky stuff and the color black, if you couldn't tell. I collect hobbies and crafts and I can't sit still in a chair. I'm mostly self-taught and I have the cosplayer audacity to think I can make just about anything I want after watching one video on it. It's a hazard, really. When I'm done with the embroidery that seemed never ending, I can finally make this fan laced. I'm going to start by making the little belts that will hold the lacing at the sides. I got the length from the center measurement of one of the corset halves. I'm going to cut this out and then sew the tube together with the end open so I can turn it out, as well as leaving the sides open a bit down the length so I can attach a ring later. Once it's turned out, I'll press it off camera and then use the open end to tuck the front and the back around a ring and inside the tube. Then I'll do a top stitch around the entire belt. I decided I'm going to do snaps, so I'm going to mark it off, making sure that both of the belts will match, and then I'm going to punch the holes and then set the snaps. After testing the strength, I think I'm pretty happy with these belts and I'm able to go ahead and move on. Since the embroidery is done, there are still some visible marks from my pen, so I need to go and wash the corset. There is no way that I want this to shrink at all, so I'm going to wash this in the sink in some lukewarm water and then just let it hang dry overnight. Once it is dry, I can then take it to my tailor's hands and press out any wrinkles that the washing caused. Okay, so my partner gave me the worst heart attack scare of all. I think something was on my iron that stained some of the white binding. My wonderful, amazing, fantastic partner came in and told me that it is not a stain and it is a burn, and let me tell you the kind of heartache I went through thinking I just threw away so many hours to turn around and burn it at the end. Anyway, I went through an entire Tide to Go pen and that took out all of the stains. So I guess 2 lessons learned here: keep those pens stocked up in the crafting tools and also clean my irons more often. Next up, I'm going to start the fan lacing. First step is I'm going to cut a bunch of my lace a lot longer than I know I'll need and go ahead and thread that under the tape that is sewn onto the privacy panel that I made. Then I'll pin it to the corset halves to make this a little bit easier. I'll also be able to put this on my dress form to make extra sure that this is going to fit me by the end. I'm not sure I'll be able to describe this correctly, but to make this fan laced, I'm starting in the middle and for now I'm only tying them on temporarily. I will tie 1/2 of a lace to the opposite belt from the grommet that it comes out of, and then holding a tiny bit of tension, I'll tie the other end of the lace to the other ring, and I'll do this for each lace. Off camera, I tried it on to make sure that the fit is correct before I sew the ends of the laces to the rings. And with that, my new corset is done! Corset, new favorite, corset, new favorite, corset, new favorite, corset, new favorite, corset! Ah! I cannot. I have no words. I have none. I'm baffled. I am struck. I think fan lacing is going to be the new way that I lace corsets from now on. Fan lacing makes sense now. It is so easy to put this thing on, I swear. It's like, all I gotta do is put that and then just snap it together. That's it. That's it. Just wave my arms around a little bit and then snap it all together. And there we go. I don't have to worry about zhuzhing laces. I don't have to worry about any of that. It's already laced and perfect, and I just can put it on. If you wear corsets for any amount of time, if you have any experience with corsets, you understand. Sometimes you need a second person to help you get into a corset, and fan lacing totally eliminates the need for the second person. I get it now. I have no words. This is my new favorite corset. It is probably going to be my new go-to corset when I need one to wear or want one for like date nights and whatever. I am beyond words right now because the entire project, I was worrying. I was so anxious about this project because as soon as I drew on the pattern, I put it, it was on the mannequin and I looked at it and I had this instant regret. The corset underneath it is so smooth and it fits perfectly, and you know, the simple black body with just the white binding and the white laces, like that's just a look on its own. And I kept worrying that I made the wrong move by adding all of this embroidery, and I'm very glad I pushed through. I'm proud of myself for pushing through all of that doubt because this is amazing. I I'm so happy with this. I feel like this is a testament to my current skills. I feel like it represents where I am as a seamstress and as an artist, and I'm beyond happy. I have no words. I cannot describe the amount of joy I feel when I look at this thing. I'm so happy with this. I am beyond happy with this. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Go ahead and like this video if you liked it, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!